first and foremost, thank you for joining us and being a part of this webinar. I can see myself on your screen.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for joining us and being a part of this webinar. So over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Today, I'm going to speak to you about software engineering. Before I start, I want all of you just to think about what you know about software engineering. So, start to think, what are your thoughts on software engineering? What do you know it to be? What do you think that software engineers do? What do you think the background of a software engineer looks like? So before I delve into it, I would like you to have a think about that so that you can compare your thoughts now to your thoughts after the webinar. I'll just give you 30 seconds to do that. Lovely. Let's get started. So I'm just going to tell you what is software engineering. So software engineers use different languages and tools to create things. So when you look at languages out there, I'm going to delve into it, but they use different software engineering products to design, develop, and maintain software. Typically, there are people who specialize in different pieces of the process, but some companies will use the same person or multiple people to work on different parts of the development. So when it comes to software, we're looking at what we're using now, such as Teams. This is a software that has been designed for our use. So we have the user interface. So that is what it looks like, the design, where the buttons go, how long things take to load. And then you also have the back end. So that's how things work, what happens when you click on things. So software engineers, they engineer software for the needs of their clients. So, for example, let's look at Facebook, for example. Facebook is used to connect friends, colleagues, family members together. So, there are a set of rules that dictate how Facebook should run. For example, if you press on the button to add someone as a friend, if they don't accept it, then you're not a friend. But if they accept it, then they become your friend and your profile becomes open to them. So that all works on the back end, which is software engineering, which is the coding that writes the rules for the software and how it will behave. So there's the back end of software engineering, and there's also a front end of software engineering, and different tools are used for each of those. So, software engineering, people can do back end and front end, people can do design and development. They do entail different tools, but the more you learn, the more that you can be a part of a project in many ways than one. So, software engineering has many layers and it's not as simple as we think. As someone who has just entered a role as a software engineer, there's so much more that I'm learning and opening myself up to. But in a nutshell, if you look at software engineering, you're actually making something with code. That is what you're doing. And you're ensuring that that code meets the guidelines of a client. A client could be Facebook, a client could be McDonald's. They all have websites, apps. And what do we need? We need people to create it. And the only way that they can create it is with code. And that's what a software engineer does. So they are quite important people in this day and age. And let's go into the next slide. So let's talk about the tools that I said. So these tools, some of them are for back end software engineering, and some of them are for front end software engineering. So we have SQL, like SQL, also known as SQL. That's for more front end. HTML, more front end. JavaScript, more front end. We have back end like Java, C++, Python. So there's so many tools that software engineers use to create software. And it depends what they're going to create, which determines what tools they will use. We also have platforms such as Docker, and Docker allows software engineers to transport projects to their clients. So as a software engineer, you have to understand that it's not just one language that you would learn. One of my colleagues said to me that the needs of the client can change at any time. Therefore, if you learn Java today and you're using Java as a software engineer, and they now want to use Python, we would now need to learn Python. So as a software engineer, you need to be someone who can change, someone who's dynamic, someone who can adapt to change. So let's just talk about some of the characteristics, some of the skills that a software engineer would need to have. A software engineer would need to have good communication skills, because not only are they speaking to their colleagues and working with them on the same project, they have to also ensure that they are able to understand the client's needs, asking the right questions, and saying things in a way that they want them to come across. A software engineer, like I said, should be adaptable. Everything is changing. What is in now may not be in tomorrow. So you always have to keep up to date with the changes in the software world. A software engineer has to have good time management. They need to stick to deadlines. When it comes to projects, companies are looking for a turnaround in the time that they have agreed with the company. So you have to ensure that you are keeping to the time, because if you delay on your section of the project, you can delay the whole project. Speaking about sections, you won't be working on the whole thing by yourself. You could just work on a small section of it. For example, you could have a website such as Pretty Little Thing, and they have a payment section. You could work on the payment section of that website to ensure that people put the right card details in. So, for example, if the card long number should be 16 digits, in that section, you have to write a rule saying card number must not be less than 16 digits. And in saying that, they'll have to also connect that to the bank of that card holder to ensure that they have input the verification processes in. So there's a lot of things that go into making of software. And like I said, it's not that simple, but as you grow in it, you will learn and you would know what you enjoy, and what you enjoy would become your not necessarily niche, but it would become your forte, something that you are good at. And it's important for you to find things that you enjoy, because there won't not everything that you will enjoy. So it's good to explore. Um, Software engineers also have to be enthusiastic. The reason why is because they don't know everything and they can be thrown into the deep end. And employees want to know that you are willing to learn, that you are willing to take on a challenge, and you're willing to problem solve. So, yep, you need to be enthusiastic and also a problem solver. So, I will move on to the next slide because I don't want to get into stuff that I have coming up next. Please feel free to write your questions in the chat box, and after we've done, we'll go through the questions one by one. So if anything pops up as I'm going through this, write it there and I will be happy to answer them. And no question is silly. So anything you want to ask around tech or software engineering, pop it in the chat box. So like I said, we solve real life problems. We all experienced the pandemic and how it changed the world forever. So as you know, we have a lot of people that work now remotely in sectors that didn't even consider it. How were they able to work remotely? They were able to work remotely through softwares such as Teams, Zoom, Discord, so many other things, Google Meet, Google Hangouts. So they solve real life problems, and without tech, the world won't be able to move forward. When you have a banking issue, if you open the app and there's an issue with the app, there's actually people behind the scenes that fix it. So they are live engineers that work with issues there and then. So if they are not at work, if prior to the pandemic, they would have to come into the building, log on the computer, and fix the issue. But now, because we work at home, they'll just log onto the computer and then they'll fix the issue. And now the app for the bank will be up and running. So it's not just a fancy job. It's not just something that looks good. Software engineers solve real life problems that me and you have. For example, just say you're getting paid from your workplace and then you don't get the money. There's an issue that is happening somewhere. Software engineers can be responsible for that if your employer has paid you, but there's something wrong in the system there. What other problem would I say that we solve? We solve so many problems. For example, I would say I talked about apps, talked about websites. In terms of sustainability, you know, companies don't want to print out statements anymore. They want to keep everything online. So what do we need? We need software engineers to be able to put people's information in a format that they can understand on a website, and that takes coding. Also, during lockdown, I don't know if any of you were studying, we weren't able to go into uni. I only attended 1 month in lessons face to face, and the rest of my um master's was done at home. So how was I able to do that? There were platforms that were set up by software engineers. So software engineers are problem solvers. They make the world a better place and make things run smoother. So when you think of software engineer, don't forget that they solve real life problems and they connect people together. The world is becoming a global village and we need people to stay connected. And software engineers allows that with the platforms they build for you and I. So when we talk about software engineering or tech in general, it's not just technical. So you don't necessarily need to know how to code to be in a tech field. You can earn just as much money or even more by not knowing how to code. They do require the skills, but you don't need to know how to code. And most skills can be transferred from previous jobs that you had. So when we look at technical roles within tech that require coding, we have a developer, we have a data engineer, we have data scientists, we have cybersecurity, and we also have a web developer. So all of these roles would need some coding experience. You would need to code. But on the flip side, in those same companies, you would need somebody in HR to recruit software developers, a blogger to write blogs on coding or blogs on new softwares that are out, a finance department to manage the finances of the company, an account manager. So an account manager can manage a group of people that sell tech items. They can manage, yeah, that sell tech items. That's practically what the account manager is. You also have a manager that manages people that code. Sometimes, obviously, managers would have some coding experience so that they would know what to expect from the people they manage. And we also have content creation. You can go into software, into social media, manage and run their profiles, create content for them. So tech is not just about software engineering or coding. Tech is about everything. No matter what background you are in, you have something to offer into tech. And it doesn't mean your money will go down or up. An account manager sometimes can earn more money than a software engineer. It's important to find what you enjoy. So don't go with the fancy names. Do your research if you want talk to people in those fields. And from that, start your journey in tech. Find out what you enjoy. Find out what skills, what experiences you have that can give you a head start. Some people may not be prepared to start all over again as a software engineer and in a junior role. And they may come from a managerial position, but maybe they can learn some coding and become an account manager and you get some good money as well. So it's important to really understand what you enjoy and looking out there for opportunities. And just to let you know that there are many roles out there. So don't be fooled by what you see up here. There's so many roles that are developing and coming out. So keep your eye open, search, network, use LinkedIn, use Instagram, use Facebook. There's so many things out there for you. So I want to talk about digital exclusion and the reasons why people don't get into tech or people don't know about tech that much. And we could talk about ability, low confidence. They don't have confidence with using technical, like computers. It could be due to like older people. When I used to work in banking, they didn't want to fiddle around with apps. It could be that they feel like they're excluded because of their skills or their knowledge or education. We have access. So if you don't know, data poverty is a thing. People don't have money to buy data, to buy internet. So there's some people in their houses that during lockdown could not communicate with their loved ones because they didn't have any data to call them, to speak with them. So that does affect people because jobs are online, training is online. First, you learn to code in your house. That's when you start coding. An employer wants to see that you have started the journey in your own time. Affordability, digital poverty. People don't have the money to buy laptops. And I don't know if you know that during lockdown, universities were giving grants for students to buy laptops and things they needed to study. So imagine people don't really have those opportunities to delve into the world of tech because they don't have data, they don't have the technology, or they don't have the confidence. So I spoke about this before, but let me just talk about it again. We have digitalization. So we have paperless statements, e-forms, e-books, pandemics, online courses. A lot of things are being migrated online. So it's important that as a software engineer or somebody that wants to go into software engineer to understand the difference they make in the world. So my manager's manager said that we are solving real life problems. If we do something wrong, it will affect a human being somewhere. So the job that you're doing is very important, a very important responsibility. And tech makes us have a sense of belonging to each other. So we have Sheryl Sandberg, the director of boards of Meta, and she said, "We are building products that people with very diverse backgrounds use. And I think we all want our company makeup to reflect the makeup of the people who use our products." So companies out there right now want to employ people from diverse backgrounds, people from diverse countries, no matter where you're from, no matter your skin color, if you're a woman or you're a man, they want to employ you regardless of the biases that are out there. They're willing to change because they realize certain things are not working. So I want you to think about your background and think about your education and understand that you shouldn't let that limit you if you do want to go into tech. They're willing to train you up from the ground up. If you don't have any experience, but you have an enthusiasm and a readiness to learn, they will take you and they will train you up. So they're willing to employ people from different backgrounds, regardless. Don't exclude yourself from the opportunities in software engineers, in software engineering roles. Companies are looking for people like you and I who want to learn. So don't feel that because you are not this way inclined or it might take you longer to learn things. Yep, everybody's different, but give yourself that time and understand who you are. And then once you understand who you are, you can relay that to them and tell them, this is the way I learn. It might take me a bit of time, but I know it's not impossible. So let's go into a bit of the underrepresentation in the tech field. So let me just tell you this. Women currently hold only 26.7% of tech-related jobs. So if you think about all of the tech jobs in the world, women only hold 26.7% of them. On average, women in tech are offered a salary of 3% less than men for the same job at the same company with the same experience. What does that say? We need to really see value in ourselves as women. And it also tells us that there may be an unconscious bias out there. So we have to have that in mind. But companies are understanding this more and more, and they're doing things to change the figures. That's why they are intentionally training more women, more people of color, more people from diverse backgrounds to come into tech, because they realize that we are waking up and we are seeing these things and it's not good. And tech is something that is quite powerful. I think it's a great social mobility tool. I mean, there's some people that I'm not bashing any job, but if they just spent an hour a week or a couple of minutes a day learning to code, they could change their salary by so much. So it is a skill that does pay. And I feel that the more people that have access to it, the better that the that our communities will be, because you don't need a brain surgeon to learn how to code. You just need to give yourself time. So let's look at Facebook, which has progressed ever so slightly from having 2% of their staff being Black employees to 3.8% in 2019. So if you look at Facebook and how big they are, only 2% of their staff are Black. And that tells you a lot about their company. It could be that in certain communities we don't have the skill sets, or it could be that we do have the skill sets, but there's a lot of biases or unconscious biases happening. So Twitter had a slight increase in the percentage of Black staff, rising from 2% to 6% between 2014 and 2019. So as you can see there, you can see that there's a lot of underrepresentation happening in tech. And so they want a diverse range of people. So they want you, they want me, regardless of what background you have, regardless of whether you're a man or woman, they really want to change things. So this, if you do want to go into tech, whether it be software engineering or any other role in tech, this is a great time for you to get your foot in the door. You don't need any experience. You just need to show that you have an interest, a genuine interest in it, because the job is not easy at first, because it's quite hard. But as you go on, you'll learn, and you have to be a learner because you always are learning. So, like I said, there are biases, lack of exposure and education. I'll talk about myself a little bit more at the end, about my journey into tech and software engineering. But I feel like education did play a role. If they had introduced this into primary schools or secondary schools, I feel that a lot more people would be in tech. Lack of role models from an early age. Why is it that we are not seeing a lot of Black people in these big companies? Is it because we don't have the role models in our communities, or is it because the doors are not open to us? So Annie Jean Baptiste, Director of Product Inclusion and Equity for Google, said it's important to have as many voices as possible because inclusion really fuels innovation. If we want to see the best of the best in terms of technology, we need to make sure that voices that have been at the margins are really included. So they're looking for people. They're looking for people in this field. So let me just get back into software engineering. So software engineering is the use of languages, like Python, SQL, C++. You can do your research on these languages, and these languages are used to develop programs for you and I, for companies. PayPal uses software engineering. Every company needs to develop a website. Every company that has an app needs to develop an app. And what do they need? Who do they need to do it? They need software engineers. If you think about mechanics, car mechanics, they can fix places in the car, they can do the engine, do the brakes. Think of that like a software engineer. A company needs people to develop websites. They need people to fix an issue on the website. They need people to change the color, to change the way it works, the buttons, the sound. They might want to put a video on the website. They might want to update their website for Christmas. Who do they need? They need a software engineer, somebody who is able to use a language to write the rules for that programming. And a software engineer doesn't spend their whole day just coding. There's many things that a software engineer does: writing reports, attending meetings, going to events, and there's other programs that they use as well, like Docker, for example, to transport projects from them to their client. They use GitHub. GitHub is a great place where you can share your code with a community of people in tech. It's also a great place to make changes to your projects. Git, that you also use Git. So a software engineer is not a nerdy person with glasses sitting down just typing away. They use so many other resources to get the job done. So it encompasses a lot. So I hope that you have a little bit or a more stronger grounding as to what a software engineer. They engineer the software, and the software is made through the language of tech. And languages of tech range from Python to C++ to SQL, depending on if you're doing front end or back end developing. So we develop programs, apps, websites for people to use, for companies to use. That is what a software engineer does. They engineer the software through code. So what does a software engineer look like? A software engineer looks like you and me. They're no different from us. When I went into my workplace and I saw people, I couldn't tell if this person was this or that. We are all human beings. Software doesn't look like I'm using stereotypes here. A white male who went to a private school, who has great education, who went to Cambridge. A software engineer can be somebody who grew up in the hood, who likes to code and who is good at coding. It's not about what you look like. It's not about your sex. It's about, can you code? Do you have a passion to code? Do you have a passion to learn? That is what a software engineer looks like. And your journey will start from where you are. And before you know it, you will find your interest and you'll find what works for you. And you can go into those areas more. So a software engineer doesn't have to look like anything. So don't be fooled. A software engineer just needs to show passion, and then they need to show that they can code at the end of the day. But through the company's training, through your own development, you will get there. So it's not hard to get into. Yeah, it is competitive, but when you apply yourself, you can get in there. There's so many schemes going on. So let me talk about different ways that you can get into software engineering. So I'll talk about the way that I went into it later. But there's a lot of academies happening online. If you want to Google training as a software engineer for free, you can find companies that train people as a software engineer and deploy them into companies. There's a lot of academies, online academies that go on. There's websites such as Code Academy, Black Girls Code. So many resources out there that can teach you how to code. YouTube channels out there. There's apprenticeships going on. There's junior positions as software engineers that doesn't require you to have any prior background, 0 to 1 years of experience. They just want to see that they want to see that you have a passion and that you have been actually, playing around with code or doing something. There's boot camps. So before I did my training to become a software engineer, I did a data engineering boot camp with Durham University, Tech Up Girls. So you can try Durham University, Tech Up. They don't just train women, they also train guys as well. There's lots of programs they do. And I believe that boot camp really did help me. So when it comes to boot camps, it's not just boot camps within the field of software engineering. There's boot camps within analytics. There's boot camps within data engineering. There's boot camps within like many areas within tech. So it's good for you if you don't know what you want to do to engage in some of these boot camps. Some of them are 3 months. Some of them are shorter. Find what works for you and see what works for you. So there's a lot of boot camps out there. So I'll say do a boot camp. If you really do want to get into tech and in the area that you want to get into, find a boot camp or find companies that have connections. Find training academies that have connections with companies who can deploy you once they've they've trained you. I think that's a great way for you to get in. Own your journey. Really own your journey. The slogan for the company I work for is called Get the Future You Want. You are in charge of your journey in tech. You might enjoy doing something for 1 year and might not enjoy doing it after. What is next? So as you can see, I put little seedlings here because you will, as someone who is going into tech, you will become a seed and you will sprout and you will grow. You'll grow into a plant, you'll grow into a tree, and you'll bear fruits. It all starts from somewhere, but you have to own your journey. And to own your journey means that you have to be intentional about your growth and direction. Otherwise, you're not going to grow. You're not going to bear fruits. You're not going to become great in that field because nobody's going to do it for you. So one of the advices that I got was to shadow other people within my team, people that do different things on the project. And from there, you would know probably where you want to go next, or maybe no, something you don't like, you don't want to do that. But it's always good to see what your team looks like, and also what the role that you do. Find out what is good for you and what's not good for you. So own your journey. If you want to be a software engineer or anything in tech, own your journey. Your journey starts now. It doesn't start from when you become employed. You can become a software engineer and not be employed. You can just make stuff for yourself. Make your own website, make an app. You don't have to be employed to be a software engineer because it's something that you do anyway. So don't wait for a company to employ you. Start learning today. And by that time, you can be able to prove yourself and show the skills you have developed, because software engineering is not like customer service. You can't blag it. You actually need to know how to code. That's the difference. When it comes to other roles within software engineering, you may not know, you may not need to know how to code, like the non-technical roles. But when it comes to the technical roles, you have to learn. You have to own your journey, put in time, and learn. So let's go into my journey. This is the last slide of it all. So my journey, I went to public school in the UK, didn't have any exposure into tech at all. My mum didn't tell me about it. My dad didn't tell me about it. My school didn't tell me about it. I didn't even know what I wanted to study in university. I just went through life, worked in banking part-time through university. After I graduated, worked full-time, was in retail banking for 7 full years. Imagine if I had been exposed to tech much earlier, I could have been further ahead in my tech journey. But the way I look at it is that I've developed so many other skills from working in banking, that hence why you should not put yourself down. You have value to add to any team that you join. So I worked 2020, did my master's, decided that I didn't want to go back to doing banking. And then I did a boot camp with Durham University, with Tech Up, in data engineering. And then I thought, you know what, I like this. I didn't know if I liked it. I thought, I can do this. So I did the boot camp and I was looking for other opportunities. I also did a short course with cloud, AWS. That's another thing you should consider. Cloud. So now companies store things in cloud and they want people to know about cloud. So look at Azure, AWS. There's so many. IBM has a cloud. So that's what I'm saying. Software engineering is not just about coding. It's about many other tools as well. So look at cloud being certified. AWS is the biggest cloud platform out there. You can start with that and then move to Google, Azure, and move to different places. So look at that as well. So I applied to be a software engineer with an academy called Hatch, which is HATCH, Hatch online. I did a little test and I passed the test. And then I did 2 interviews, one with the actual academy managers and then one with people in the company. And then I got in. I was like, wow, that wasn't hard. Wasn't hard. I didn't have to do any tests. I didn't have to prove myself. I just had to. Well, I did with the little test that we did initially, but I didn't get flying colors, but I passed. But I had to show that I was enthusiastic to learn. A lot of the other ladies, this one was a female-led cohort. Some of them were nurses for 15 years. Some of them were teachers. Some of them were restaurant managers. Some of them were just students. I've finished. I haven't even been to uni yet. So if a company, an international company, is willing to train people that have no experience at all in coding, and say one of the ladies, I'm not going to repeat here because it's recorded, I have no experience in it, but still got recruited. Just look at your background and see the value that you can bring to people. So now I finished my training, which was 8 weeks in different things, and I'm not perfect at coding, no, but I have a concept, and my journey is continuing, and it has helped me. And now I'm going to be deployed into a team and work on projects as a software engineer. So someone who came from a working class background, had no education in tech, just did a boot camp for 3 weeks, 3 months, which was all online, self-paced. Now I'm a software engineer. So I feel like the barriers have dropped a little. They realize that you don't have to have the conventional computer science degree because they need people from different backgrounds. They need people that can bring something different to the team because at the end of the day, they're creating products for a diverse group of people. So they need a diverse group of people to create those products. And that includes you and I. So let me just go back to the beginning. We all came here to understand about software engineering. And if I were to tell you everything about software engineering, we'll be here to 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Software engineering is so wide. And I thought, let me just keep it simple for you. Software engineering, you're engineering software through code. That is what software engineers do. They work with clients to produce products that they want. They have certain requirements, and we have to meet those requirements. And that is what a software engineer does to solve real life problems. So we've come to the end. I just want to say thank you for your time this evening. I really appreciate you being here. My name is Samantha Larbi, and please do feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Samantha Larbi LLM. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you for that presentation, and thank you everyone for joining. So if you do have any questions that you'd like to ask Samantha specifically, please feel free to put it in the chat, or if you'd like to raise your hand, you can also ask questions. One thing I like is that you touched upon a lot is having the passion. And the thing is, you can hear the passion through your voice when you speak. Like you can hear that you really are genuinely interested in what it is you're talking about, what it is that you're doing. And I guess maybe, is there any advice you could give to somebody who wants to get involved in the field or has heard the name software engineering coming up a few times, but doesn't really know where to start or how to get involved? What
Mhm.
would your first piece of advice be to them?
If you found, if you saw someone wearing Nike trainers and you really loved them, you would go online and start searching. Ooh, high top Nike trainers. You go on Shoe, you go into JD. The same passion that you have for that, have it for your own craft. Go online,
Mhm.
use YouTube. What is software engineering? What do software engineers do?
Mm.
Go on the dictionary, find out, be curious. And I think that is what software engineering is about. It's always about being curious about what is out there in that field. So if you don't know, find out. There's so many, there's so much information on YouTube. There's so much information on Google. You can reach out to people on LinkedIn that are software engineers. And you can say, can I please have a bit of your time for you to, have a little meeting? Can we have a meeting on Teams that you could explain this to me? You'll be surprised. There's people out there that be willing to help you um, in that field.
Okay. And I know you touched a little bit more about, like, is it called programming languages when you said like Python and Java? Is that the correct term? Languages or
Yeah,
programming?
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, there's so many languages out there.
right.
There's many languages, but it depends on the language that the client wants to use. Java is a language that has been used for a long time and is used a lot when it comes to developing like websites and stuff like that. But there's other clients that may like to use Python. So I think that is important to start with one language and to know it very well, and then move on to another language. Because in the job you may be needing to use different languages for different projects, but the job, they do know that they need to give you time to learn these languages. So they will give you training. So don't worry about that. They will give you the training and the time to learn those languages. So when it comes to languages, start with one. Start with one. And when I was doing research, I would come across videos saying, I wish I learned Python first. If I could learn how to code, I would have learned so and so first. But I would say just start off where you are. You find something and you want to do it, just start learning it, whether it's a front end or back end. So when it comes to software engineering, look to see, do you want to do front end software engineering, or do you want to do back end, or do you want to do full stack? So full stack engineering is being a front end engineering and a back end engineering, and they get paid a lot of money. And sometimes it starts with you starting off being a back end or front end first, and after learning other languages that are used for the front end. So like I said, there's languages such as HTML, SQL, which is like SQL, and other languages that are used for front end, and they are a bit easier to learn. And then they have backend like Python, C++, Java, and they may be a bit more difficult to learn. But you start off with and it depends who you are, to be honest with you. You might, Python may be easy for you. So, but you start off with one and then you work your way. And then it's a journey. You don't get there in one day. You start off slowly.
So you wouldn't say that there's a set time to be like, okay, if I decide I want to learn this language, maybe in the next 3 months I can be comfortable with it if I practice every day, or it's just based on how you learn and how you can pick things up.
Yeah, I mean, if you spend time every day practicing, you can become good in a short amount of time. But we're all different and we all may require different amounts of time. But if you are dedicated, you can be good in a language. If you continue, like you can be comfortable doing simple things in a few months. Like, so it just takes you to practice. Some people can be comfortable within a few weeks. We are all different, but you can be comfortable very quickly if you practice every day. And when it comes to coding, it's something that if you stop, you could forget. So it's something that you have to practice here and then, so that you don't forget. One of the software engineers, they've been doing this for 15 plus years. They said Google is still their best friend because they come across things that they may not know or have forgot. So yeah.
Okay. And then I've got a question from Michaela. She's talking about, she Googled Black Girls Code. She said that they're based in the US. Is there a UK based branch, or how does it work in terms of that particular thing, Black Girls Code?
I'm even Googling it myself, Black Girls Code UK, because I've come across it. So
is it like a course? Or...
Yeah, they do like courses and stuff like that. So even if it's not in the UK, I've come across it a lot. They might do online courses. Sometimes it's ongoing, sometimes it's not. Some on blackgirlscode.com, and I don't know if you 1 second, it's called, oh, okay. There's also another one called ingblackfemales.com. 1 second. I'll put it ingblackfemales.com. But still look at Black Girls Code, because they could do online courses that you can take part in. This is one that you can have a look at. There's so many out there, to be honest with you. But Black Girls Code is very popular and big, hence why I said it. But see what they have. They do things online. So because you're not in America doesn't mean that you can't take part in it. So have a look. What I said is just very small compared to what's out there. If you're a woman, I would say look at things that also as well that cater to women, because you have a greater chance of getting in. If you are black, look at things that cater to black males or black females. If you are white, look at things that cater to your, because there's not a lot of things that cater to white people, unfortunately, because they don't have like the BAME things out. Like it's normally black, minority, and all of those things. But look out there, women, males, they want them all. So look out there, and there'll be things that will cater to you.
And I know you touched upon like underrepresentation, especially within like the females not really being involved in tech and the whole kind of software engineering umbrella. So would you say, aside of like the interest that you found when you got involved in that, was that also a reason that made you want to look more into this because of the underrepresentation, or that didn't really influence anything?
Really, I was looking to change my career because I know I wanted to do more than stay in retail banking. And it was a module in my master's that dealt with financial technology. And there was also another course that I did, which was about like marketing, fashion, music. And one of the executives said, learn how to read data. And I didn't understand what that meant. So I Googled, learn how to read data. What is that? And that's when I realized that it was to do with like tech. And I thought, wow, okay. And I thought, wow, like there's so many people out there that can change their lives if they just get into tech, whether it be technical or non-technical. And don't get me wrong, don't allow a job to take over your life. You're still a human being. You have your other things you want to do. But for the time that you want to work, make money, grow, set yourself up, whatever you want to do on the side, tech is a great tool for you to do that, because the money you get will be most likely be more than what you've ever had, and is more secure because they're looking for a lot of software engineers now, and the prospects of it. If you have a few years underneath your belt, you're in demand. So software will change a lot of people's lives. So for me, it was wow. Why I'm not getting into tech? Like I really want to make some money. I want to save. I want to do some stuff. In the meantime, let me get into tech. I can apply myself and do tech. And the thing that kept me going was, yeah, not a lot of black females are in tech. Let me do this for the black girls as well, and to inspire other black girls that may feel that they are not enough or don't look like what a software engineer is. Because at the end of the day, they don't care if you're black, if you're white. Can you code? Do you enjoy this? Are you passionate? Can you learn? Are you willing to learn? That is the most important thing in tech. Yeah.
Love your passion. I actually love it because you did touch upon the lack of role models. So it looks like you are going to be that, well, you are already that
Mm-hmm.
role model for people who want to be in that field. And
Mm-hmm.
this is not a question, but more of a point. I think, like you said, a lot of people are now starting to realize that the stereotype they had of software engineering, where it's like you work behind the back of a desk and you just put all these letters and numbers together, they don't know that you are actual normal people like that
Mm-hmm.
walk around. Everything you see has something to do with software engineering. You just haven't understood it properly or had the chance to look into it a bit more. So I think with that understanding, probably that's what is also getting a lot of people to get involved in that field and seeing how
Mm-hmm.
it applies to everyday life and actually seeing that, oh, I can actually do this.
Yeah. What I want to do is also, I'm going to put together like some resources, like links, and we'll get them sent to you. So I'm going to do some research and all the things that I've come across, links to companies and all of these opportunities that you can use to start your journey in tech and to get your foot in the door. So I'll put that together so that you have more resources than what I said. Yeah.
Awesome. Michaela said that will be amazing. Does anybody have any further questions to ask Samantha? Is it so you're happy with them to connect with you on LinkedIn? If
Yeah.
someone might potentially have a question that they wanted to drop an email for, is it okay to share your email address with them?
Yeah. No problem. I'll just pull it in the chat.
Someone typing.
And if you want some more guidance about getting into tech, just let me know. I can help you as much as I can. Um, My company's actually wanting me to refer people to them as well.
Okay.
So if it's something that you want to do, I can tell you a bit about the company I work for and I can refer you. Yeah. Yeah. Even if you're deaf, you can get into tech. Tech is for everyone. It doesn't matter. We need variety. We need people from different backgrounds. So they will have to be adaptable to your needs. So don't use that as a way to think you can't get into tech. You can get into tech, whether you're um, whether you're deaf or blind. We have keyboards that people can type with, so it doesn't matter. Don't use that as a barrier to get into tech. Yeah, you can get into tech. OM, Gwen.
This has been so.
Oh, that's nice.
To switch over to tech. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's
So
really nice to hear.
just know that it's possible. It's possible for everybody here to be in tech. Is very possible. Yeah.
Does your company train for free?
Yes, they do train. They actually have an internal. So the company I work for, they have a university, which I believe is in France, and they also do training within their company for existing employees, and they also use other companies to train people for them. So yeah, they train for free, and they pay you while you train as well. So that's good. So it was through a company that I used, which was Hatch, HATCH. So it was that company that has the a relationship with the company I work for now. They trained us and then deployed us into the company that I work for, which is called Capgemini. Um, and we were getting paid while we trained. Not everybody pays you while you train, but yeah, people will pay you. So you get paid full time salary, and you train virtually. Like right now, the teacher will be on Teams, and I'll be here listening and learning and writing stuff down and doing exercises. Yes,
So
that's it,
when the
Rhonda. Hatch. Yeah.
so when they're teaching you on Teams, I guess it's up to you to really just be the one learning and soaking it in and taking the notes. Because if you don't, then
Yeah. You'll be given projects to do as well. So you have to apply your knowledge because tech is not just about learning, it's about applying everything you learn, which is the most important thing. Practice, practice, practice. So you'll be doing projects, presentations to actually demonstrate what you have learned. Yeah. So yeah, send me a message, Viola, on Google, and then we can take it from there.
awesome. Don't know if there's any more final questions, but thank you again so much for this informative webinar. I know everybody has learned something new, and now you know that you can get into tech if you're involved in it. It's the passion, and it's
Yes.
also being willing to do the work and being willing to learn the skill. Like you said, you can't blag it. You
No.
can't just go in and say, yeah, yeah, I know how to do this. There's actual work that you
Yeah.
need to learn and train for and I guess, study to do. So I want to say a big thank you, everyone, for joining. And thank you once again to Samantha for being a part of this webinar. So
Thank you.
this webinar has been recorded. So what I'll do is tomorrow I will send over the recorded version. So you can always refer back to it or share it with people that you also think it might be useful for and help them get a better understanding of software engineering and tech. And I think that's all for me, unless there's any other comments or anything you want to say, Samantha.
No, just want to say thank you guys for being here. And yeah, tech is great if you want to travel. You can work remotely, don't have to go in. So I think it's about being free, doing things you want to do in your own time. And I think tech allows you to do that. So definitely look into tech and see if it's something you want to do. Remember, it's not only software engineering, there's so many things out there that you can do and still earn a good amount of money and have fun as well. So yeah, do your research and start your journey. The journey starts with you. Own your journey. Yeah.
So thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening, and you'll hear from me tomorrow via email with all the information about this webinar. So
Thank you,
thank
Rhonda.
you so
Thank
much.
you. Take care.
Thank
Bye bye.
you, Samantha. Bye.
No problem. Bye bye.